Welcome to my pull tab spinner tutorial. This is a great one. It's made of paper. It's awesome. Hey there, thanks for tuning in to Square Type, the channel showcasing easy to follow pop-up card tutorials and demo videos. This one is going to show you how to make the pull tab spinner. I'm going to start with the materials here as I normally do in the tutorials, and here I've got cardstock, just your normal run-of-the-mill cardstock, some scissors, a glue stick, and I'm using a sewing thread here, but fishing line I think is much better, but I'll show you how to do this with sewing thread. And here I've got a ruler that's see-through just so you can see what I'm doing, and then I've got a razor to cut the holes, but a hole punch is better. If you got that, use that. And I've got some quick release tape here. So let's start off by making the parts. The parts are actually 7 pieces, including the string. So 6 pieces to cut out. The first one is going to be the pull tab. The pull tab has to be really sturdy, so I'm just taking a piece of my cardstock, folding it over 4 times, and gluing it shut. This video will be in 3 parts. The first part will be making the pieces, the 7 pieces, and then the second part will be actually assembling the mechanism so you have a better understanding of it, and then the last part will be actually putting it into a card. So here I've got just this one piece of paper to represent the card. I've got my blade here that I'm using to cut out a circle. If you have a hole punch, use that. It's going to be the same size circle for all of my cuts. So here I've taken the same size circle again on another piece of paper, and I'm going to make 2 parallel cuts on either side of it. This is making the hub for the wheel. Okay, so then you lift up the 2 flaps upward. To make room for the string, I suggest that you flatten out these flaps like this, and then you zigzag it, that is, fold it back on itself so that it has a very slight zigzag. That raises the platform a little bit, and it also pushes that edge inward a little bit more. See that? See how it's a little bit more inward? I've found that when I do this, the spin of the wheel is much easier. It doesn't catch as much, so I suggest that you do this. You can try it without doing this, but I think that it works better when you do this. So do it to both of the flaps, and then your hub is ready to be used. The next thing we're going to make is a ring. I guess you could call it a washer. It kind of looks like a washer. It's basically the same size circle in the middle, and then you cut a ring around it. The same size circle you used all along for, your card and your hub. Okay, so then this last part is going to be the hub cap, and that is the size of the outside of the ring that you just made. And that's all it is. It's just a circle cut. Okay, so this 6th part is really just your image. If you already have a sticker, then you don't have to make it. You could just use your sticker, whatever. If you have a stamp, that would be cool too. But here I've got my image. The 7th piece is really the string. So let's go ahead and go into assembly. You basically take your card and you take the hub and you insert those 2 flaps into the hole of the card. Then kind of check to make sure that the spin is nice and smooth. If it's not smooth, most likely just double check your zigzag folds on the hub, but also just go ahead and trim the H on the back of the hub, the big H. Usually when that H is really big, it tends to create a lot of friction on the card, so it kind of slows down the spin. So go ahead and remove a bulk of the H. As long as the overall H is still bigger than the hole that you're sticking those flaps through, you should still be okay. And now the spin is much easier. So we can go to the next part, and which is basically the string. So here I've got my sewing thread, and I'm going to take about 2 feet of that, or 60 centimeters, and I'm going to tape down one side. I found that easy release tape is really my friend when I'm making this kind of pop-up. So get some kind of tape that you like working with. Okay, so you take the string and you loop it around the outside of these 2 flaps. Loop it around at least 3 times, a maximum of 5 times. So in this video I'm just doing it 3 times around, and that's plenty. Now I can just tape down the other side so that my string doesn't get all wound up and weird, and I can attach my ring. So the thing about the ring is its purpose is really to keep the string from unraveling when it's spinning. So you need the middle part of the ring to be glue free. So to attach it, you just put the glue on the outside edges, the 2 outside edges, and then you leave the whole middle empty, so that it's this large like channel that the string can pass through really easily with no glue in the way or anything. Okay, so to attach it, put your fingers where the glue is, so you remember where the glue is, and then slide the flaps through that circle, align the 2 cut circles on top of each other, and then just push it down. You know, just make it so it attaches. And so the glue's on the outside and the string is traveling through that middle, and there's no glue in the middle. So there. So now it can spin, only notice how the string kind of makes the flaps collapse. That's because there's nothing holding it down. So the best thing to do, I've found, is just to put a cap on it, and that's why I call this thing the hub cap, which is basically a disc that pushes those 2 flaps down to make sure that they stay flat. So I'm going to make the flaps a little bit smaller than the hubcap. That way they don't catch on the string at all. So I'm just snipping it so it's shorter than the hubcap is wide, and then I'm just going to put glue on the 2 flaps and attach my hubcap. So when I attach it, I'm going to make sure that that's nice and dry, and then I'm going to kind of lift up on the hubcap and with the flaps, just kind of curling everything up so that the string has less chance to catch on any of that. So I'm just making a little bit of room for the string to really be free inside of that wheel hub, that hub wheel, whatever you call it. So now I can test it and kind of check on what's the tension that it wants to travel on, how tight does the string or loose does the string have to be for the spin to become smooth. And I'm kind of adjusting, readjusting, and once I find that sweet spot, I'm just going to hold it steady there and keep the tape where it is, and the tape is really going to help me keep that tension steady. So now I can attach my my pull tab. So the way I do it is I'm just going to cut a slit at the ends. The slit is about 0.5 to a centimeter deep, and then I'm going to maintain the tension on the string by just putting a piece of tape on the string closer to the card or on the card itself. That way the tension doesn't get messed up. I won't lose that tension while I try to attach that string onto my pull tab. So the way I attach it is I pass the string through that slit that I made, and then I wind the string around the tab, and then I pass it through that middle slit a few more times to make sure that it's really staying on there, that it's nice and tight. You can also put a piece of tape there to keep the string down, but I found that it's not really necessary. I can just cut the end off and it's good to go. So now I can do the other side. So it's basically the same steps, only if you notice it keeps moving now that nothing's holding the other side. So I'm just going to put a piece of tape on the other side. Just use the tape anywhere you need it to be. It's a quick release tape anyway. It's just to hold things down while you work with the mechanism, with assembly. So I'm doing exactly the same thing. If you notice here, because I'm using sewing thread, the thread actually broke at the end there, so I'm just going to readjust it. Thankfully there's still a good amount of string at the end that I could still wind it around. If you have fishing line, that doesn't do that, so that would be cool. Okay, now all I have to do is just attach the image onto the H. So I flipped it over and I'm checking the spin, and it's spinning really nicely. And all I have to do is just put some glue on the H, and then I can attach my image. What you want to do is make sure that that H is actually smaller than the image. You can still trim it. I'm not going to trim it for this one because I just want to show you that it spins, it works. This last part, where I'm going to show you how to actually put it in an actual card. Here I've got a card that actually folds. So there I'll show you, you know, the part where I'm trimming the hub. Okay, so I've got my hub here. I've got the inside of my card, and the way you do this is you pass the hub through the inside of the card so that the flaps come out the back. Okay, because the pull tab has to be on the back of the card. Okay, so I've got my string taped down, wound it around the hub 3 times, and then taped it down on the other side. I'm putting glue on the 2 sides of my ring, putting my fingers where the glued parts are, and then I'm going to place it on the card, passing the flaps through the hole, making sure that the holes in the middle are aligned, and then I can attach my hubcap. Remember to trim the flaps so that they are shorter than the hubcap is big, than the width of the hubcap, that is. Just putting glue on the flaps themselves, gluing the hubcap on, lifting up on the edges so there's room for the string to move around freely. Now I can attach my pull tab, and this is the different part here. What you want to do is have a little bit of the pull tab showing at the edge of the card, and I want my pull tab to pull from the bottom of the card. So here I've got about 3/4 of an inch or a centimeter or 2 at the bottom, and at the top I'm going to cut it shorter, about 1 centimeter shorter than the height of the card. That way it doesn't poke out the top of the card. So now I'm going to cut my slits down the middle of the edges of that pull tab, and a little bit differently I'm just going to go ahead and tape down my pull tab here. That way I can keep the tension with my hand while I'm pulling it and winding it around the top of the pull tab. Then I'm pulling the card all the way to the edge like that, and that way I can wind the other side onto it. Now that that's all attached, just push the tab all the way inside the card, and that way you can put a cover on the handle. Just take a piece of paper and make sure it protrudes either in thickness or in width from the handle itself, because you need to do that for the second part. The second part is putting the collar on the pull tab. The purpose of the collar is to keep the pull tab from shifting left and right too much. It just needs to, the pull tab just needs to go up and down. So I'm making a 3-fold, and I'm just putting glue on the middle fold. And I'm making sure that that collar does not touch the circle. We don't want any friction there. So just slip it underneath the string. That way the body of the collar will hug the string and the pull tab without actually putting on any glue on it. Right? So then, now that I've got it there, I can make sure that the pull tab is centered on the circle, and then press the glue down. And now I can glue this collar shut. Again, make sure that the collar is just glued to itself and not to the pull tab. The other purpose to the collar is really to keep the pull tab from going all the way up to the top of the cart, right? It stops, the handle stops at the collar, and that way it stays in place. Okay, so the last part is really just attaching the image to the H, and I can trim that H down to whatever size I need. And at the end, on the back side, just putting 2 strips of glue on the sides of the card, and I can attach the backing, and you won't see that mechanism. You know, about a week ago, I did a live stream that I've since kept private because I tried to do this pull tab spinner, and I thought I knew it, you know, just using the hub and the wheel video and just tying a string around it, but I failed, and I was really bummed about that. But I promised that I would do a tutorial once I figured it out, and I'm really excited that I came up with using a ring and putting the hubcap on it, and then this whole pull tab thing, you know, with a collar and everything. And now I think that this tutorial is going to be foolproof, and you're going to be really excited that it works for you. Thanks for watching. Bye. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to get notification for the new posts I have, and so you don't lose track of me. Also, let me know if you liked or disliked this video, and leave me a comment. Share this video with your friends. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Bye.